Okay, so let's talk sweeteners versus sugar and which one is actually better for you. Now, you've heard it all over. Artificial sweeteners are so bad for you, and then sugar is so bad for you. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want to eat sugar. I don't want to eat anything. I mean, it basically gets down to that, right? Like you start thinking like, oh, you can't eat this, you can't eat that. This has that. So I want to break it down to you. I want to talk to you a little bit about sweeteners, about sugar, which are the best options. And then I'm also going to share with you which ones I use and why. Now, let's just start off with what are sweeteners? So a sweetener is actually a sugar substitute. It tastes like sugar, but it's not actually sugar. It's not supposed to spike your insulin. It's not supposed to spike your glucose. It's not supposed to have any calories, which a lot of people use that when they're on a weight loss journey, if they're diabetic, or really just trying to watch their sugar intake. Now, there are a lot of different sweeteners, okay? So a lot of people have gotten into a place where they're like, no sweeteners of any kind because they are just bad for you. Well, there's a little more to that than just saying like they're all bad. Right? There are some that have been proven to disrupt your gut microbiome, to cause gastric distress, to cause digestive issues, right? And so those are the ones that I would definitely stay away from. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've had my daughter end up in the ER because of a sugar sweetener. Now, she definitely had a lot of this sweetener. She had an entire bag of these gummies. It was a small little bag. She had the whole thing. And long story short, we wound up in the ER. Missed a flight, had to pay. Oh my gosh, it was like a whole hot mess. But this sweetener is called Maltitol. Okay, now Maltitol is a very common sweetener used in a lot of chocolates and a lot of gummies. A lot of the candies that we grew up eating, like Snickers and Reese's and Jolly Ranchers and a lot of those very well-known brands, for whatever reason, use Maltitol. So I cannot eat those. I have not been able to eat those for many, many years because they literally make my stomach puff up to here. I literally feel like a balloon after I eat this sweetener, okay? And you can't listen to what everybody says. At the end of the day, you also have to try it for yourself. I wouldn't recommend that one though. I would not recommend that one. Again, daughter ended up in the hospital. I ended up looking 9 months pregnant and I'm like, no, that one is a hard no for me. But, we do have a lot. Like, let me just name a few that you might be, familiar with. There is sucralose, there's aspartame, there's saccharin. Anyway, just to name a few, right? And then you also have your sweeteners. Now, those are artificial sweeteners. And then you can also have your more natural sweeteners. And that is where you can have, let's say, allulose, you have stevia, you have monk fruit. These are natural sweeteners. And then you also have sugar alcohols. Now, the sugar alcohols is like erythritol, xylitol. There's one more, I can't think of it, but those are just a few of the very popular sweeteners out there. Now, we can't forget about real sugar. So then you have your refined white sugar. You also have your brown sugar. You have coconut sugar, date sugar, and then you also have honey and maple. These are just some very popular options. I'm sure there's so many others out there, but these are just some that I have personally tried. I can attest to like how I feel and how I have felt after having all of these. So now that's gonna be all up to personal preference in terms of which one you decide to use. I always say, test them out. Test them out, especially if you are on a weight loss journey, because you can't just go based off of what somebody else says, right? When you start thinking about, let's just talk sucralose, because sucralose is a very, very popular sweetener that's in a lot of diet products. It's in Diet Coke, it's in a lot of sugar-free jellos, it's in your coffee syrups. Very few coffee syrups are sweetened with stevia, because a lot of people don't like the aftertaste. And sucralose is actually a sweetener. It's an artificial sweetener, but it is a sweetener that tastes very, very close to sugar without giving you the sugar spike, without giving you an insulin spike. So a lot of diabetics and a lot of people on a weight loss journey tend to go for that, for that sweetener. Now, if you're trying to go for a natural sweetener, something that's organic, then that's when you would go for more of a stevia. Now, I'm gonna go over all the sweeteners that I use, and I'm gonna share with you what I use them for, because I actually have sweeteners for my coffee, for my baking, for my sweet treats. Like, I have sweeteners for everything because I've just been doing this for so long and I've tried everything out there. And so I have very, very specific things, but hopefully it will help you. Hopefully it can help you on your weight loss journey, or just trying to limit your sugar intake, because it has worked really, really well for me. Now, before I start showing you all of my sweeteners, I do wanna give Oslo a special thank you for sponsoring this part of the video. Now, if you have a partner that snores, or you live in a city that is super busy where you hear honking and the trash man and there's just dogs barking and you're like, oh my God, I can't sleep. These sleep buds are actually made to fit into your ear very comfortably. Even if you're a side sleeper, they are made to fit perfectly. Now, these are noise blocking earbuds, so it will block out snoring, dogs barking, loud people. Like, it will literally block it out, okay? And you can stream anything from YouTube to audiobooks to literal, like, anything you like to listen to. It even has soothing sounds that are built in, and it has an all-night battery life, so you don't have to worry about it dying out in the middle of the night. It has auto sensing, so when you fall asleep, it just cuts off on its own. And then it even has a gentle alarm that wakes you up. So again, I wanna thank Oslo for partnering with me. You can actually get $10 off your Oslo sleep buds using my link, or you can use my discount code, which is LOCLO, to get the best sleep of your life. Okay, now moving on to the sweeteners that I use. Okay, so let's start off with my coffee. My cafecito is something I do every single day. And what I do for my coffee is the stevia, organic stevia. Now, I have tried many brands. I've tried the liquid, I've tried the powders, I've tried them at different coffee shops. The one that I ended up loving is the one from Wholesome, I believe. And I'll leave everything linked in the description, because if you're someone that is trying to just try different sweeteners and you're like, maybe the ones that Myra uses I'm gonna love, I'll leave them there for you, okay? I will say, the best tasting sweetener, in my personal and humble opinion, is sucralose, okay? But it is an artificial sweetener. I have to throw that out there. I know there are a lot of people out there that are just like, oh my God, Myra, how could you? I am human, okay? I love my stuff to taste delicious, and I have mastered it at this point. If I do just a tiny bit of stevia, it doesn't leave my coffee super sweet. I like it. It tastes delicious to me. And I do some creamer. So the creamer, I will do like nut pod. Nut pod is just completely unsweetened. Or depending on where you shop, they do have a cookie butter version that does have the erythritol, and it doesn't have that funky taste, okay? So if you find them, try them. You might like it. I do. And then I do some cinnamon and then just a tiny bit of stevia to make it a little extra sweet, and I love it. Now let's move on to baked goods, okay? Now this is like, I'm making a cake, I'm making some type of brownie, something along those lines. Now another sweetener that I use is allulose. Allulose is actually derived from real sugar, but it doesn't spike your insulin. It doesn't spike your glucose. So that sweetener is very much diabetic friendly. It's also weight loss friendly. A lot of people in the keto community, in the low carb space, use it. It actually caramelizes like sugar. So you can use it to make like caramel. I've made Mexican flan with it. It works. The only thing I will say is that allulose is only 70% as sweet as sugar. So if you do allulose, you'll either have to use a little extra, or that's when you can definitely mix in a little bit of stevia. And that's where brands actually created a blend. So you'll see blends where it's like allulose with a little bit of monk fruit and stevia, and then all three together. People tend to really love that. But me personally, I just use allulose, and then if I feel like it needs a little extra sweetener, I'll do like a little packet from my coffee. But for my baked goods, I'm using allulose. Now, let's talk about the artificial stuff, okay? Because I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I don't want to say like, I don't touch that stuff. I don't use it. Guys, I have to tell you that Coke Zero is my guilty pleasure, okay? I love Coke Zero. And I think, from what I understand, I think allulose is in that recipe, but I have to say I know that most diet drinks are sweetened with sucralose. If I have it once in a while, no big deal. 90% of the time I'm having organic foods and I'm having organic sweeteners. I've even, and I'll talk to you about it right now after we're done with sweeteners, but I also have honey and maple. Okay, so anyway, let's talk the brown sugar sweetener. The one that I grab is the one from Splenda. It has real brown sugar and it does have some sucralose. In a perfect world, you know, I wouldn't eat that. Maybe I will get away from eating that and just start using some regular brown sugars, maybe some like organic brown sugar once I get to a place where I feel like I've reached my weight loss goal. Right now, I'm just not there yet. And so mentally, it just makes me feel better. Okay. So that's just, I feel like we have to do what works for us. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, how can you be eating that stuff? Hey, I'm not over here criticizing you while you're eating what you're eating. You know, I just share what works for me. And if it works for you, then great. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Right. But I want you to know the options out there. And I also want you to know what you can possibly use them for. And another thing you can do, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about this. You know what you can actually do is you get either monk fruit or you can get even allulose, and then you add molasses into that sweetener. I haven't done that in so many years, since like my keto, like hardcore keto days. So, hey, right now together, I just figured something out. Because, you know, at the end of the day, I want to be the healthiest version of myself, right? And I know if I am consuming artificial sweeteners every day, which I'm not, I'm definitely not. But if I am, then I know that I'm not being the healthiest version of myself. And doing some molasses, which is obviously a single ingredient sweetener, and putting that into your allulose or putting that into your monk fruit or whichever sweetener you use, then you can create a very clean version and a natural version of that sweetener. So, hey, let me know if you want me to make that. I could actually make a batch of brown sugar, because that would be, I don't know how much lower in sugar it would be, but yeah, that's a very good option. Okay, moving on. Now, another thing that I have started doing ever since I kind of shifted more into low carb versus just keto is I started incorporating more maple syrup, and I also incorporated honey. I used to be terrified of honey and maple syrup because I just knew it was going to cause an insulin spike. I just knew I was putting so much sugar in my body, and I had like this phobia of sugar. But I'm going to tell you, when I have really been on my A game, where I am eating ground beef, eggs, my veggies, avocado, queso fresco, like I am just on it, and I have some Greek yogurt with a little bit of honey and some fruit, I do exceptionally well. So at the end of the day, you just have to see what works for you. Okay. I can't go out there and say, hey, no problem, you can go and eat maple and honey because I do it and I still, lose weight that week or whatever the case is. I can't do that because all of our bodies are different, and you just have to figure out what works for you. Okay. But those are pretty much the sweeteners that I'm using. We have the organic stevia, we have allulose. I also do a blend. So I do have a blend that is allulose, monk fruit, and stevia. Once in a while, I'm using sucralose. I'm not gonna lie. And then I also do the brown sugar. Now those are in the sweetener division, and I've now incorporated my maple syrup and honey. And guys, it's worked for me, but I found a balance. So at the end of the day, you just have to find what works for you. So going back and just kind of figuring out, are sweeteners healthier than sugar? I think it's gonna depend on your goals. What are your goals? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to be the healthiest version of yourself? Like, what are you trying to do? Because if you're diabetic, then you're not gonna go have maple syrup and honey, no matter what your goals are. That's just not gonna happen. But if you are trying to lose weight and your goal is just to, get that weight down as soon as possible, and then you'll figure out what your next step is, then sweeteners might work for you. I would say always opt for a natural sweetener versus an artificial sweetener. But will an artificial sweetener take you down? Probably not, but that's something for you to decide. I'm just, I share with you what works for me, and, artificial sweeteners aren't that big of a deal for me to consume here and there. And then it gets down to the sugars, right? The real sugars. Are they better than sweeteners? Some people would arguably say they are because they're natural and they just feel better about putting something like that into their body. My personal opinion, I would always say opt for a natural sweetener or a natural sugar, like a maple syrup, honey, or even like a coconut sugar, something along those lines if you're gonna go the natural route. But overall, this is the breakdown of how I've been living for the past 15 years. I would say like really honed in the past 8 years. That's when I really started realizing like, oh my God, when I have sugar, this is what happens to my body. When I do this, when I do that. So I have a meal plan that I put together. On the meal plan, I basically break everything down there. I break down my diet. I break down what I do when I get back from traveling. I break down what swaps are the best from sugars, sweeteners, flours, tortillas, breads, all of that. So if you're in a place where you don't know where to start, I'll leave that linked in the description below for you. When you are first getting into, when you are first starting a weight loss journey, everything just seems like so foreign and you don't know where to turn or who to believe. I'm gonna tell you, trial and error, okay? Try things out for yourself. Don't always believe your neighbor or your cousin or your whomever, because you never know. You can be very different. Something, she might have thought that stevia tastes disgusting and then you try it and you're like, oh my God, it's not bad at all. Or you try this and then you're like, ew, how could you think that's good? You know what I mean? So try it for yourself. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate it when you guys share my video. It really helps my channel grow. But at the end of the day, thank you for being here. I love you and I will see you on my next video. Mwah.